Welcome to the Sent from Disneyland podcast.
Here age relives fond memories of the past.
If it's your first time joining us, welcome. On this podcast, we'll take a journey into the past and explore Disneyland and Disneyland history with mementos, snapshots, and postcards sent from Disneyland from 1955 to the present. The postcards from this episode will be viewable on Instagram at Sent from Disneyland or on my website, sentfromdisneyland.com. Today I'm starting off by thanking my patrons from patreon.com. You can join in and receive mail from my desk or for my trips to Disneyland. I'm currently working on some new patron benefits. Patrons can sign up for as little as $1 per month. Special thanks to Random Olive, the first patron to this podcast, and to the e-ticket patrons Tania, Eric Daniels, Monica Seitz Vega, Joe Gamble, Scott Booker, Russ Romano, Michael and Christina Cross, Mary Henderson, and Sheila Harry. C-ticket patrons Serious Inquiries Only, Debbie Weinstein, Jennifer Schneep, Ruby McDowell, Grace Coate, Scott Cagle, and Ben and Noel Bruning. B-ticket patron The Disney Rewind Podcast, and to the A-ticket patrons Elise Sharp, Zealot Infinity, Alexis Robles, Maggie and Henry Byers, Angelica Nablock, and the All Aboard Podcast. I am your host, your post-host Clocky, and today we have 2 postcards sent from Disneyland. The front of our first postcard has a lost safari who managed to climb up a tree to escape the rhinoceros below. On the back it reads, Trapped Safari. A hunting party finds itself trapped by an angry rhinoceros while hungry hyenas hopefully await a chance to share in the prey. One of the many surprises in store for Disneyland guests as they cruise down the rivers of the world in Adventureland. It's postmarked July 5th, 1968, with a Buena Park cancel and a blue 5-cent George Washington postage stamp, Scott number 1283. I assume they visit the park on Tuesday and Wednesday, July 2nd and 3rd, when park hours were from 8 a.m. to midnight both days, and the weather was a high of 78 and a low of 54 on Tuesday, and a high of 80 and a low of 59 on Wednesday. It's addressed to a Donald Johnston of Marshall, Michigan. It reads, Hi Don and all. Spent Tuesday and Wednesday at Disneyland. Had a great time. It's unbelievable the things they can do here. Real nice weather all the time we were here. Temperatures in the 80s. Saturday we should be in Monterey, California, at Mr. and Mrs. Richard Weyer's. We will then be heading back towards home. Maurice. I'm surprised I had not mentioned this week's Imagineer in other episodes. Wathel Rogers was known as Mr. Audio Animatronics. He was born in 1919 in Stratton, Colorado, and started tinkering and making toys as a boy. In high school, he took radio parts and scrap metal and made more elaborate toys. Following high school, Rogers moved to Los Angeles and applied for a job at the Disney Studios. His portfolio was good, but they suggested he get a bit more training. Like many other animators, he enrolled at the Chouinard Institute and was hired by Disney 2 years later. He began working on Pinocchio and Bambi, as well as some Donald Duck shorts. Rogers left the studios in 1943 and enlisted in the Marines. When he returned from World War II, he was rehired by Disney and worked on Cinderella, Alice in Wonderland, Lady and the Tramp, and Sleeping Beauty. He continued to tinker and was a model train enthusiast. Walt learned of these talents and hobbies and asked Rogers to join Harriet Burns and Fred Yeager in the model shop for Disneyland. Rogers was great at making models and miniatures and took some of the Disneyland concept art and made a 3-dimensional model of Main Street, USA. Walt had Rogers work on a special project, which was the beginning of audio animatronics. Project Little Man was a 9-inch tall man that could move without exterior wires or strings. All the animatronics were housed in the little man's body and were able to articulate the model to move. This new technology progressed forward and allowed the creation of the Enchanted Tiki Room. Walt had given Rogers a mechanical toy bird and asked him to study how it worked. Rogers and other Imagineers adapted that concept with what they had learned from Project Little Man and created an audio animatronic show. Rogers then focused on larger human audio animatronics for the 1964 World's Fair. He helped with the design of Mr. Lincoln, starting with his head. The mechanics of the body movement was already developed, but Walt wanted the Lincoln animatronic to have lifelike facial movements when he talked. He was also adamant about Lincoln standing up at the start of the show and sitting down at the end. Last week's vintage Sunday stamp sale went quickly. I was distracted and missed out on some great USPS postage stamp on Enfield Post's Instagram sale. Be sure to follow Enfield Post on Instagram to see all the amazing vintage stamps available for the Sunday deals. You can head over to EnfieldPost.com and explore all the different vintage stamps you can use on your next card or letter. That's ENFIELDPOST on Instagram and EnfieldPost.com for your wedding and vintage postage needs. Enfield Post is the official postage stamp sponsor of the Sent from Disneyland podcast. The front of our next postcard has the exterior of the Carousel of Progress. You can see guests walking off the attraction and the large General Electric sign above the show building. If you look closely on the right-hand side of the postcard, you can see the People Mover. On the back it reads, Carousel of Progress, Tomorrowland. A new and exciting experience awaits visitors in General Electric's Carousel of Progress. Unique rotating theaters become magic time tunnels as they bring guests into the homes of yesterday, today, and tomorrow in a living story of man's progress through electricity. It's postmarked November 25, 1974, with a U.S. Postal Service cancel and a 10-cent U.S. flag postage stamp, Scott number 1509. I'm unsure of when they visited the park, but on Monday, November 25, 1974, the park was closed as it would normally be on Mondays and Tuesdays during non-peak weeks of the year. The weather that day was a high of 82 and a low of 45. It's addressed to a Super Bowling Kids Week, which was a sweepstakes in San Francisco, California, where kids could send in postcards to be drawn for special prizes. It reads, I would like to get 2 tickets to Kids Week. Connie Ephraim, age 12, Alameda, California. I chose this postcard because it features the Carousel of Progress. It is currently the only mailed postcard which features the attraction in my collection. Originally, the Carousel of Progress debuted at the 1964 World's Fair, and Wathel Rogers worked directly with the audio animatronics, even so far as to sit in a chair with a harness to train the animatronics to work. There's even film of him in the harness demonstrating how the audio animatronics work on a Walt Disney's Wonderful World of Color episode entitled Disneyland Goes to the World's Fair, which aired on May 17, 1964. Walt mentions how the actor in the chair must exaggerate their gestures in order to make the audio animatronic look more realistic. I'll put a link in the show notes to the segment of the episode. Rogers also worked on the attraction which replaced the Carousel of Progress in Disneyland's Tomorrowland, America Sings. Being known as Mr. Audio Animatronic, he worked on many attractions including Pirates of the Caribbean, Walt Disney World's Hall of Presidents, and even oversaw the opening of Horizons in Epcot in 1983. He continued to work for Walt Disney Imagineering until 1987. Rogers then retired to Sedona, Arizona, where he painted landscapes. He died in August of 2000. Rogers was made a Disney legend in 1995. He has windows on both main streets, Disneyland and Walt Disney World, as well as Haunted Mansion tombstones in both parks. It reads, Here rests Wathel R. Bender. He rode to glory on a fender. Peacefully rest. This incoming postcard is sponsored by the Art Throwdown. Art Throwdown, or ATD, is an online craft hour on Instagram, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. I was on at the end of last Monday's ATD, hosted by paper artist Russ Romano. Russ was working on making character letters, and I popped in to showcase a postcard pack of national parks I'd received. Some of the locations were the same, and we compared the differences with each artist's interpretation. Each host brings something a little different to each show. I'll list some of the regular hosts, or you can follow Russ Romano 2021 on Instagram. The front of my incoming postcard has Mickey Mouse in a fancy blue and white outfit, with the Walt Disney World's 50th celebration logo and the tagline, The World's Most Magical Celebration, written at the bottom of the postcard. There are also some stars and fireworks which move. It's postmarked April 28, 2022, with an Orlando, Florida cancel and a 2018 Frozen Treats Scratch and Sniff Forever postage stamp, Scott number 5287. It reads, Hello from Disney World. The weather is beautiful. Just enjoyed a Dole Whip. Have a magical day. Bobby Krause. Thank you so much for the postcard, Bobby. Based on the postmark, I sent Bobby a postcard from Disneyland the same day she sent me one from Walt Disney World. This is currently my favorite postcard available at the Walt Disney World Resort. It's a lenticular postcard which gives the card's image a 3-dimensional look. This postcard also has one of my favorite stamps. It was the first time and currently the only time the USPS issued a scratch and sniff postage stamp. The scent is meant to smell sweet. Thanks for listening to Sent from Disneyland. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and tell your friends. It would be awesome to share your favorite episode. There are over 100 episodes to choose from. It would also help to leave a 5-star rating and comment at whatever podcast platform you use. If you'd like to support the show financially, please check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/sentfromdisneyland. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Sent from Disneyland, or on Twitter at Sent from Disney. For questions and comments, send me a postcard addressed to Sent from Disneyland, P.O. Box 44, Hood, California, 95639. This podcast is not affiliated with Disney, the United States Postal Service, or any post office or Disney properties. Opinions expressed on this podcast belong to its host and guests of the Sent from Disneyland podcast.